I was always good with numbers. I always like solving things. So if I think of like the common themes of what brought me to private equity, it was I like numbers, I was good with themes, I enjoyed challenges. So, like in university, if there was a course that everyone said was hard, I would take it. I never was looking for that easy way out. Um, and so that's kind of the background of the type of person I was that kind of brought me to this path. I studied finance in undergrad. I did a master's in accounting. I started my career at Ernst& Young as an auditor, auditing financial services firms, and worked as a finance director, did an MBA, came out and did some fundraising for a private equity fund, and then moved over to the investment side. So even though I liked numbers and liked challenges, there's a lot of different paths you could take within finance, investing, even private equity. And I feel like I've taken that entire journey. I guess the interesting thing about investing, and especially in my role, because we look at all types of sectors, all types of regions, is it's never boring. So I'm constantly learning about different industries in different regions and thinking about what are the key value drivers of those companies. And in an investing role, what you're thinking about is, you're trying to understand the company, what drives it, how do you think it's going to grow over the next time horizon, next 5 to 7 years? How is it going to grow if I could put more money into it? What should that company be doing? And so it's doing that research and forming a view of how that company will grow and how much should I pay for it today? And this is always changing. Every investment is different. So it is never boring. It doesn't feel like I come in and do the same thing day in, day out. And I like the fact that I get to learn about many different industries and just kind of, I always say, I feel like I'm not an expert in anything specific, but I feel like anyone can tell me what they do, and I feel like I can get understanding of, you know, what the company may be doing and what are the key value drivers. So, um, and that's what I like about it. The other interesting thing, probably similar to most industries, is your role changes over time, right? So when you start out in investing, maybe you're the one that's doing a lot of the desktop work, like looking into these industries and sectors and forming a view about the market. Or maybe you're digging into the numbers, modeling out how you think the company perform. But over time, you become the person reviewing other people's work, teaching new, you know, investment analysts how to do this or how you think is best practice, and all of that just morphs over time where you're the one teaching, you're the one looking for these opportunities, you're the one thinking about what else should we be investing in that we aren't. So probably similar to other industries, the role itself also changes. I think the typical day has changed over time, but what I would say is my typical day, a lot of it is a lot of internal and external meetings because I'm at the point in my career where I need to find opportunities. But besides that, if I think about it, I'm probably working on live investments. So maybe I'm reviewing somebody else's assumptions on where they think a company will grow and how it will exit. I could be also in the final stages of executing a deal. So, going through the legal negotiations. Maybe I've already agreed with a counterparty that we're going to buy your company and we're just working out the legal documentation. It could also be something I've already invested in. Like I get questions a lot internally of, how is this company performing against what you expected it, how you expected it to perform? And if it's different, why? And how is that going to change? So, um, besides the internal, external meetings to, drive more business, it's looking at live opportunities, maybe executing live opportunities, and also monitoring investments that I've done. Well, first off, you have to like numbers. So, hopefully you like it because there's a lot of numbers involved in investing. I am looking for someone that is intelligent, and I can usually tell from just, seeing their accomplishments on their CV. What other extracurriculars did they do? That kind of gives me a sense of how driven somebody is. Um, because the industry is hard. So, hardworking, you're going to have to be hardworking. Um, and so seeing someone that can balance all of these things, it kind of already gets them over that hurdle where I'll know that they are hardworking, they probably can multitask, and if they like numbers, it probably works. The other thing that I'm looking for is somebody that would work well in a team because a lot of the things that we do, a lot of these projects we're working on, investment opportunities, you're always working in a team of, anywhere from 2 to 5 people, and you're not always working with the same people. So, you could work with me one day, one of my other colleagues, so you have to be somebody that can work with other people well. Um, so when I say someone that could be a good fit on the team, I'm not necessarily looking for a certain type. It's just somebody that would fit in with people. So I run a women in private equity dinner quarterly here in London. I've also done it in Australia because private equity has a very few number of women. And the whole purpose of this dinner was to ensure that we are networking with each other and getting to know each other so that eventually we can do deals with each other. But beyond that, if I think about what I do to support women, I also volunteer for Math for Girls. So these girls are quite young, usually like grade school level, but it is to talk about careers in math and to encourage girls to learn maths. I didn't actually realize this statistic, but that a lot of girls at a very young age feel like they're not as good as math and they end up not studying it. And so it automatically has a disproportionate amount of people that actually say they like numbers later in life. So the point is starting at a young age and really encouraging girls that you can be just as good at math as everyone else. And these are the types of careers you can do. So Math for Girls, and there's another program that we do with Coller, and that is, I believe it's called the Women's Society and Alliance, where we talk with university level women. We usually talk about Collar Capital, talk about what we do in private equity secondaries, and try to bring on 1 to 2 kind of work study girls every summer. If anything, I have a daughter, so I want to instill that confidence in her and never let her feel like she can't do something she may want to do. So I think being confident is an important attribute to develop, and it takes time. It took me long in my career before I actually felt confident that I know what I'm doing. Because I think it's hard not to compare yourself against your colleagues. And you forget that some of my strengths are things that other people lack. So even though I may be weak in certain areas, it's not a bad thing. We're all different people, but just be confident of your strengths, and develop them. And also, no one is fighting for you. Stand up for yourself, fight for yourself. I think a lot of times in my career, I also felt like if I'm doing a good job, people will just know and recognize me for it. I think you have to learn to pound the table for yourself. And it takes a while for, anyone to get to that point where they feel like, yeah, I should ask for that. I should. But I always tell other women in my organization, just think of it as no one else is fighting for you. And if you don't ask, you don't get. And I try to think of the worst thing that could possibly happen if you ask a question or you demand something is no. And can you take the rejection? Yes. If that's the worst that can happen, there's no hurting in asking for it. Um, and I guess the third one is to find mentors. Mentoring is something that I feel like in the last 10 years that become very popular. So I think the newer generation of girls will be looking for mentors, will be looking for sponsors, will be looking for champions. But it wasn't something I had earlier on in my career, and um, I think it's very important to talk to many people in an industry. If you feel like you connect with somebody, develop that relationship. Somebody that is 10 years ahead of you in your career, 20 years, 30 years, they'll help guide you as you're going through your career. And as a woman, I feel like I'm so inclined to help other women because I want their path to be easier than mine.